Hey guys, welcome back to another Halidom Hotspot, Season 2, Episode 2. My name's Orthodox, your host, and my special guest joining us today is Lerart.
Hey, what's up? Been a while.
Hey, yeah, absolutely has. And we're back at it. This time around, wanted to see, Lerart, what have you been up to recently? Playing more DL, playing any other different games? Let us know.
Yeah. So I've been playing a lot of Under Night in Birth. I don't know if a lot of you guys know this game, but it's a fighting game, and it's really good. I've been playing a lot of Under Night. It's been like basically the only thing I've been playing. Learning some combos, just learning the game in general. Sometimes I play some Bloons TD6. It's a tower defense game with monkeys. It's pretty funny, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
And
a good one.
I've been sometimes I watch some anime and but I've been basically playing Under Night and just seeing fighting games related things. Basically
Nice.
nothing else, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, keeping busy. Now, speaking of any new games, we have Morsayati Raid, the Morsayati Reckoning. Have you given that a whirl yet? Have you gotten your first clear bonus?
Yeah, I got 2 clears in co-op and 1 clear in solo.
Okay.
Solo is a lot more difficult than I was expecting. Took
Mhm.
me like 3 tries, 4 tries. But co-op is pretty easy. If you find like a good room, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's a fun fight. I like raid battles. I think it's cool because they're a lot different from like the regular bosses, right? They feel a bit more like regular RPG fights. I don't know if that makes any sense, which is feels more random, the pattern of the attacks.
Right,
And
right, yeah.
it's pretty fun. I like it.
Yeah, the visuals are a lot more chaotic with the characters being smaller, and having 16 characters between the 4 of you if you're doing it in co-op. That's certainly a little bit different than what we're used to. Although I guess you could count Omega 3 as a comparable difficulty. But of course, we don't have raid boosts this time around to help us out. So. Yeah, it is nice though to see like buff zone characters, characters we haven't seen for a moment shine. Delphi, Galacleo, who else has been in there? I guess all the double buffers have snuck their way back in. Seeing a Pipple composition where it's like
You
Pipple
see a lot of
and,
memes too.
Yes, yeah, that's the personal favorite I've been using is Mim, Delphi. It's been Verica and then Galacleo to round out the set. And interestingly enough, right, you're funneling all your damage into the Mim Dragon with Dragon Prep, and you're getting a ton of Dragon Prep off of the Ramiel that you stick on your Delphi. So that's been pretty cool. I saw it off, I believe a build off Twitter, and then I gave it a go in solo. It's been doing about 4 minutes and 30 seconds or so. I mean, sub 5 minutes for a solo fight's pretty good, from what I'm seeing. And yeah, it's nice. I mean, the thing is your Galacleo is 100% support. I mean, you're running Azazel is what they recommend on her, and then if you were lucky enough to get Gozu Tenno during the New Year's banner, you can put him on Verica, and one of your shapeshifts in the white part of the raid, you can use his dragon skill on Morsayati, and then he'll have permanent flame resistance down. Yeah. That goes a long way. It really does. It shaves off like 30 seconds of your time. So
It's like in general the skill, like anything that permanently reduces some kind of defense are just insanely good.
yeah.
Goes to Tenno and Midgard Zero, they're amazing dragon skills.
Yeah, it's definitely a dragon where even in co-op, right? Like you'll always probably want to see one of them if possible.
Yeah.
Right? If that was stackable, that would be so nuts, man. Like for the
No,
raid.
that would be too broken, I think.
Yeah, it really would. I mean, because then you'd have resistance down plus the defense down debuff zones, and those already are really solid because they all stack. So, yeah. It's interesting though with the fight. It's a lot of reds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, obviously, as you can tell, this fight has been tuned around the iframes for rolling. Because in a lot of cases, that's really the only thing you can do to stay alive.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I have a Galaxy S9, and I actually had to turn the graphics down all the way to basic, just so that my phone wouldn't lag in co-op.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
My cell phone it's pretty old, and it wasn't even like the best cell phone at the time. Or I have a A5, A8, Samsung A8, I think,
Mm-hmm.
2018. So it like it does the job, but it definitely like it lags on co-op, and I did have to turn the graphics down too.
Yeah. Which I guess it's not the end of the world, right? Because when you turn the graphics down, you do increase visual clarity since you're not seeing the other effects of your teammates. Which I think they actually have a separate button for now, or slider, that you can change. But yeah, this fight definitely, I've seen quite a few screenshots like on social media and on Reddit where with the meme where it was like your friends who play an MMO with you, they'll look at that screenshot, they'll say, yeah man, that's crazy, and it's just a bunch of lights.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. It is nice though that along with his introduction, and I might be in the minority by saying this, but the facility levels increasing and the introduction of the dragon augments, I'm pretty happy about both of these. I've seen on social media people were not necessarily too happy to see the facility level caps increase again.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, on one hand it's a situation where the facility levels caps increasing, you know, means obviously you have to go back and grind material or courses that are heavily outdated, like Elemental Ruins, where we only have like, I think Expert as like the highest or something, or either way it's an outdated course in terms of how much material you get, especially since there's no way to get tier 4 orbs from there just yet.
Yeah.
As well as you know, all of the Imperial Onslaught that you'll have to do, you know. And obviously, if you have been building the mana casters, you've had to have gone into the Shadow. I think Shadow and Light both drop the mana caster tablets. So, yeah, I do have quite a bit of a stockpile. You know, if I'm fortunate enough as an endgame player, you know, having done the dailies where I have like a bajillion coins.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of half and half, right? Because it's like I appreciate having something to work towards. The weapon bonuses, they cost a ton.
Yeah, they're so expensive.
Right, and the rewards are pretty minuscule. Whereas these facility bonuses, they might cost a lot in terms of, you know, how many tier 4 orbs you need or how many rainbows you need in terms of the elemental altars. But at least they don't cost a lot rupee wise.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's tough though, because right now for me,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm still working on some weapon bonuses. I got daggers and swords maxed.
Nice.
But
nice.
The hard part for me is getting the orichalcum.
Yes.
And not the
yeah.
rupees, because the triple drops on the void dragons help so much with money, with the rupees.
Yeah.
You can just
yeah.
like, oh my god, I got so many rupees on triple drops, just from the void seeds.
Oh my gosh, the triple
Yeah.
drop was. Yeah, it
And
was super
so
good.
like, yeah, rupee is not a problem for me right now. It's
Uh-huh.
mostly like orichalcum, and the facilities. I don't know, man. Like I feel like I want to work towards something less. It's it's weird. It feels too artificial to work on facilities. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Like it's an artificial buff
Yeah, it's
to
like
every character.
on one hand, you're increasing the playability of these older stages, but on the other hand, it's not being done in co-op,
Hmm.
right? And at the same time, it's like the stages aren't very rewarding. Like it doesn't feel good to play Imperial Onslaught because of how overpowered you are. It just feels like you're waiting in loading screens.
Hmm.
And same kind of idea for the elemental trials they have too.
Yeah.
Although I do want to say on those, if you are patient enough, realistically speaking, the collab, just like how Monster Hunter was, is probably
Yeah.
going to drop a ton. We're talking a ton of orbs and other common material that'll be used to upgrade these facilities
Yeah.
um, in a
The
heavy
Rathalos
amount.
fight. Oh my
Mhm.
god, dude. Like on the Monster Hunter collab, you could like just grind so much Rathalos, and you like I remember a friend of mine was starting to play on the Monster Hunter collab,
Yeah, yeah.
and the only thing he was doing, he wasn't doing anything else. And I was like, dude, like there are better content to farm. Because at the time the orbs weren't so important,
Right.
and like the after a while he'd had like so many orbs, and I was struggling with orbs. So yeah,
Yeah, man.
it
The
was wild.
the other thing was the amount of player experience you got from that fight.
Yeah.
Because it was astronomical how much player experience you got. Or
Mhm.
not, I'm sorry, not player experience, adventure experience. I was thinking during the Fire Emblem collab, the Peony fight, I think it was like the lowest difficulty, had the highest player EXP if you were solely looking to level your account.
I think the Rathalos had a good player XP too, because
Yeah. I think it
it
was like
had
12
like,
stamina, right?
yeah, it was 12 stamina, and it gave like 200 XP, I think.
Mm-hmm,
Something like that. It had like, usually you get 10 XP, player EXP per stamina,
Right.
but on the Rathalos it was higher, so it was really good, like to get player EXP.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully we'll have something like that in Persona.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely want that. That's definitely on my wish list.
Yeah.
I leveled like half my roster in those like 20 days. I think the event was like 20 days long, right? Like most of February was Monster Hunter. And yeah, I want to say like half my roster, like all my stamina for that like entire month went into the Rathalos fights. And people like I've seen on when I stream too, people are like, how do you have so many gold crystals? And I just keep leveling random characters with my daily endeavors, and then a lot of it got done just rolling through the Rathalos fight. So
Yeah, and honestly, the newer events are giving so many things on the like treasure
mhm.
trades. You can get so many like stuff, so much stuff to upgrade your characters. I
Right,
feel like
right.
building characters is not a problem anymore in terms of resources, especially Champion's Testament.
Yeah, yeah.
There,
Well, the login
it's
bonuses help
crazy.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I had a stack of 70 Champion's Testament until recently.
that's nuts, man. That's
Yeah,
nuts.
and I spent like 20 this week
Yeah. Well,
because I
when they
built
want you
too many
to get
characters.
characters for share skills,
Yeah.
right? I mean, they want you to fully build the character. So
Mhm.
you need 3 Champions Testaments and 75,000 Eldwater if it's a 5-star. just to get their share skill, and then, or just to have a chance, and then you have to spend the tomes, which in this case is it's scarce, right? I would say it's more scarce than the Champion's Testaments.
Unless you want
Shadow.
a flame or shadow, yeah. Those are just
Yeah, I think I have like 35 shadow tomes at this point.
yeah.
So-
They just give it every event. I don't get why, but
Yeah, well, there are pretty darn good shadow shares.
True.
Curran and Summer Padia come to mind for really good poison punisher skills.
yeah, Veronica
So,
too.
yeah, Veronica's really good. So, it's probably nice for the player base to have ample opportunities to pick those up. But for daily players like you and me, obviously we have a stockpile
Yeah.
of the tomes. So the other thing that's nice about Morsayati releasing is they've finally given us a way, even if it's not a very good way, but an opportunity to farm dragon scales, dragon augments, if you will,
Yeah.
right?
It's only from the weekly bonuses and first clear, right?
Right. So yeah, so between the two, it's 50 HP and 50 strength per first clear, right? And then the weekly chest, which initially we thought was different for solo and co-op, in the fact that solo only gave 10 dragon augments of each, and co-op gave 15. It seems now that Cygames put out a notice that was a bug, which is going to be fixed here on the 25th. So essentially, then this week's raid and then the next week bonus, if you do it on solo, you'll be out then 10 strength and 10 HP augments. But
Yeah.
it does say in the notice those will be returned to you, or you'll get those back. You just have to wait until the 25th.
Yeah. I'm also guessing like we're gonna get more dragon augments on events, hopefully, because
I
that's
could see that.
it's just not a good way to farm it. Like you have to wait 2 weeks to max and augment a dragon.
Right.
And,
I think for most players, right, if it was the only place to get augments and they made it farmable like daily, a lot of players would probably feel more resentful in the fact that they feel that they would have something else that they would have to be doing all the time, right? Because in this way, the way that it's currently designed, it's a one and done type deal. You could do it solo, you could do it co-op, and then once you've gotten your orb or your augments, you get a few of the extra, very end game orbs along with it, and then you're done for the week. And if you choose to farm more, you can. Whereas, in this case, the rewards are minimal but still meaningful over a full farming session if you have the materials to go beyond to these new level caps.
Yeah. And I feel like it's so kind of okay to be like have low income of dragon dragon augments, because you're not really spending augments on a lot of dragons, right?
Right.
It's usually gonna be like at minimal 1 per element, maximum like 4 per element. You're not really augmenting a lot of dragons as for like different like worm prints. You have to augment a lot of worm prints. You have to augment a lot of characters, right?
Yeah.
But for dragons, not only like it doesn't take much, like it only takes 30, right? It's the max 30 per augment.
It's 50 for the dragons.
50?
Yeah, you can do 50 per, and that also works for worm prints as well.
Yeah.
Which, based on how the stat is applied, since it's to the dragons themselves, and dragons have their own facility for stat bonuses, it's very minimal in change for the overall adventurer's kit.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously it's flat at the very end, right, where you get that flat 50 strength plus I don't know, is it like 12% or something extra? So like give or take 56 bonus stats, right? It's something, right? Really where it's going to be more impactful is, I always bring it back to the gold FAF farming, because since rupees are such a big problem for a lot of people, having 50 extra flat strength on the golden Fafnir and 50 extra flat HP may be the difference to make or break your auto runs. So yeah, I mean,
feel
like,
also like it's gonna be kind of big for gatekeeping on rooms, on public rooms.
Possibly.
Yeah,
I mean,
because
the bigger
a lot
thing
more.
is you have weapon bonuses, you have facility level increases, and you have augments. So for those that are going to be, very elite with their gatekeeping, those are the three criterias that you're looking at right now to raise your character to the highest that it can be, right? I guess in Flame's case, uniquely, it would also be the ninth unbind, because that's also a few. It's like 50 or so might additional.
Yeah.
Although it's not as impactful as Wormprint augments and Adventure augments are.
Yeah.
Because that was a big problem with High Dragon time attack. Because if you didn't have, full augments on your Adventurer, you would easily get might gated, because that's like 400 to 500 might, which is more than enough of a tier for people to might gate you.
Yeah, I feel like people are already doing like really big might gates. Recently I was looking for a room in Master Ayaho and Atoha, and like I was manually searching, and I like there were so many rooms that were might gating to 12k, and like that's pretty crazy, because to achieve 12k you gotta have like almost every, if not every, weapon bonus and every facility max, right? Before this update.
Right. And that's discounting spirals, right? So like, not including a spiral.
Yeah, the spiral are like spiral characters that are just not entering those rooms. They're just not.
Yeah.
Maybe now, but before, no way.
Right. Yeah, I think
now,
the highest that they can get, if I'm not mistaken, is around like 11.8, 11.9. I don't know if a 12k spiral or non-spiral is possible just yet, but we'll probably see soon. I'm really trying to max out my Mim. So I'm doing lances first, and then I'm also doing the fire altars as well. So we'll probably see soon there. Speaking of flame lances, we do actually have 2 new characters, one of them being a flame lance. So kind of wanted to get your thoughts on the kits, as well as their modifiers now that they've been fully released. So I thought then we would start by talking about Kimono Elisanne, which I'm sure a majority of people were most excited for to come out. Ellie alts and Luca alts even still are pretty popular, right, being in the main cast.
Yeah.
So here she is again, as Ellie usually is, a buffer.
Yeah.
Or at least that's her classification, right? A support unit. So Flame Lance. And, we went over her kit briefly when I did a Should You Summon video. But for those who have not seen that, if you'd like, then I'll briefly go through the kit so we have an understanding of how this functions. And then Lerart, you and I, we can chat about it as we go along. So we'll kind of discuss her, starting with her skills. So her skill 1 is interesting. It's a tap effect, just like Ramona's was when it was first introduced. And instead of giving a unique buff, it gives a buff that can be leveled up to level 3. So no taps will give the level 1 strength buff of 15% for 15 seconds. Level 2 with a singular tap will do 30 seconds increase of 25% strength. And then the level 3, which is 2 taps, will give an increase of strength by 40% and reduce wind damage taken by 15% for a whopping 60 seconds. And then, of course, because this is a non-stacking buff, a level up buff instead, if the time runs out on the buff, it levels down. If it has leveled down and you reuse the skill, it levels back up again, respective to the number of taps, as well as if the minimum level, level 1, depletes, then the effect is just completely gone. So that being said, the level 3 skill that lasts for 60 seconds is the highest that the buff can go on the skill, period. So I think this is something people maybe overlook on the skill, because yes, the skill is amazing, right? 40% strength, 60 seconds is an incredibly long time, and then you have the wind damage reduction for 15 seconds, or 15% here, right? But it does not stack.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that's kind of the equivalent of a buffer having 20% strength that they can do twice.
And
right?
the SP cost is pretty high.
Yeah, 8,714. So ideally, I see here on the SP cost, you are looking for a window, if you're playing this in co-op, to be able to apply the level 3 buff as soon as you can. Right? So ideally, you'd be applying the level 3 buff, on frame 1 of the fight if possible.
Yeah.
Which for Master Volk, I do not believe you can do. You should be able to easily do it on Expert Volk, though. And you should also probably be able to do it easily on Legend Volk as well. Since she does actually, skipping down to her abilities, she does have skill prep. So you wouldn't even have to apply, or take up 2 of your worm print slots for that. So, yeah, I guess then my question to start, Lerart, is did you pull on this banner? And then if so, do you have either one of these characters?
I didn't. I skipped.
Okay.
Because I spent a lot on the New Year's for I don't regret it, but they're definitely not as good as I was expecting them to be on Seimei and Yoshitsune.
Right,
I got both.
Right.
I got pretty lucky on Yoshitsune. It took me only 9-10 folds. But man, Seimei took me a lot. And I'm not lower on Warmind because I had a really big stack. But I rather, they're not limited. I look at their kits and honestly didn't think they were that amazing. And they're not limited. That's a big thing for me. So
Right.
I could always get them in the future. Just like I'm waiting to get the forager. What's her name? I forgot her name.
Oh,
Mitsuba.
Mitsuba.
Yeah. And I'm just waiting. I'll probably get them eventually. And if I don't, honestly, I won't miss them much.
Right.
Not a really a Elisanne or Luca fan myself. So.
Yeah.
I chose to just save my Warmind to possibly someone on Persona and maybe future banners.
Right.
Yeah, Luca seems pretty cool, right? I've been asking for a character like him that his entire kit, most of the damage is gonna come, not most, but a lot of damage it's gonna come up from his first strike, and instead of charging our first strike or using skills to get your first strike better, you just hold your first strike and he just keeps hitting, right? I've been asking for a character like that since, man, it's been a while.
Yeah,
it's
and as
cool
we
to see
mentioned
that.
with Quitte, right? It's the arthritis saver kits. So,
Yeah.
you know, for ones where your finger hurts from all the tapping on the screen that you're doing, these are, you know, simply holding your finger
Yeah.
on the screen to use them. Now, before we get too excited and we do jump into to Luca's kit, we gotta peruse through Ellie's a little
Oh
more.
yeah, my bad.
That's totally
Yeah.
okay. That's totally, you know, now the audience sees where your excitement lies. You know, and if you had pulled on the banner, they now know which character you would have liked to have pulled.
Yeah.
So,
Like as a character, I like Elisanne more than Luca, but
Mhm.
like I'm not really an Elisanne fan, so that doesn't mean much.
right.
But I don't know, man. Like I feel like being limited to one buff is, even if it's a lot and for a long time, it's not that good anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like now you want to have like a lot of buffs, right? To get like the Karina or Xander skill really beefed up.
Right. And this is specifically for co-op.
Yeah. Specifically for a
Mhm,
co-op,
mhm.
more on a co-op vision. Because solo, yeah, it's good for auto comps, but it's not like she's necessary either for solo for auto comps, right? She's
Right.
good, she helps, but there are a lot of substitutes for her.
At
like-
least in Midgar. In Midgar's
Yeah.
auto, it's very, very comfortable.
And
In Volk though, as I've been testing, and you guys will probably see either the auto composition or this hotspot. I'm not sure which one. It's going to depend on which one beats the other. I have both coming out, so if in fact the auto composition is not live, it'll be out soon, at least for Master Volk. You know, this 40% strength is probably still not enough for 4 Golden Fafnir, you know, clears on Blood Moon in particular for Master Volk. But it certainly might be enough for auto compositions in Expert Volk.
Yeah.
Because that 15% wind reduction is huge for your lead unit. As well as there is pretty much no way that you can fit buff time in your compositions. I'm talking in Expert Volk, because of how much damage Expert Volk will deal at the beginning of the fight, and the amount of healing that you need for your AIs to remove plague. Because the bigger thing is it's not about surviving in Expert Volk. It's about removing plague, right, as quickly as you can, so that you do not get a status affliction, which would then subsequently cause you to take a ton of damage while you're stunned or slept, right?
Or maybe even poisoned.
Yeah, well, that's a game ender right there. If you ever get
If you
poisoned,
get poisoned, you're
while
dead.
you have plague, it's done.
Even in
done.
co-op, like you're just dead.
Mhm.
You get to 1
Yeah,
HP
yeah.
and there are a lot of like unavoidable moves. You're just dead.
Right. Yeah.
But
yeah.
But for like in general, aside from auto comps, with which I feel like it's a pretty small niche in the community.
Right.
I feel like
Right.
Kimono Eli is like, if you want a buff bot, Emma is better. If you want a personal DPS, then just use Mim, right?
Right. Well, it's hard to beat a Gala.
Yeah.
It's hard to
Like,
beat a Gala.
Even Emma is amazing, and like, even if you wanna like a mix between a buff bot and a TPS unit,
Mhm.
Cerise is pretty good for that.
Right.
But
Especially
again,
with
like,
that new overdamage build that
Yeah.
circulated social media.
But again, like, Ellie is the best one for auto comps. Yeah. It's just that I feel like it's a really small niche in the community, and I personally don't need to farm Volk anymore, so.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it wasn't
right.
interesting at all.
Yeah, he's one of the more difficult to auto. That's for sure.
Yeah, true.
So yeah. Now her second skill may be of a lot more value for a lot of people. It is shareable, right? So it deals 1 hit of 609% flame damage to target and nearby enemies, and it inflicts Scorch Rend for 21 seconds, dealing 31.1% flame damage every 2.9 seconds, with a 40% chance, which obviously it's not that high of a chance to inflict Scorch Rend, but the whole purpose of the skill, moreover, is this. It lowers the enemy's Scorch Rend resistance by 10% for 30 seconds. Essentially what that means is this is your share skill to apply an infinite amount of Scorch Rend for Scorch Rend users. So in our case right now, it's Seimei and Leonidas, which I believe are our only Scorch Rend users at the moment, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I
guess
think so.
If you count Ellie, right? But obviously she would cap herself out with only having a 40% chance for Scorch Rend. She would end up capping herself out anyway. But for those people that are looking to take advantage of Scorch Rend and Scorch Rend Punisher, this will be a share skill that I would imagine will age pretty well, right? All of these that lower resistances, 2x affliction, it's good stuff, right? I mean, we have poison down on Halloween Melsa as well. It's not seeing play, I would imagine, just because the simulators aren't advertising it as like highest DPS, right? But in terms of practicality and what it can offer in a longer fight, having guaranteed access to a Punisher or continuing to enable Punishers for characters that have, built-in Poison Punisher or Scorch Rend Punisher in this case, in their kits, is really worth considering when team building.
Yeah.
So,
especially for like Fafnir comps, but I feel like for the rest, it's not that important.
Right. Well, we can look at the past couple of things that have happened, right? Like Time Attack, this is not something that you'd be buying with Time Attack because obviously you're never going to hit the affliction cap on Time Attack. If you look at, high level comps, right? Legend Volk is a great example too. Cheese, right? If you're really just looking to power farm, that can be done 50 seconds to 2 minutes, right? At which point you will never cap. You'll just never cap. The boss will just die too quickly. So, if you're playing non-traditional compositions, then this skill isn't as valuable, but you never know. I mean, it's very possible that as the game becomes more element locked, the strategies of Cheese may diminish. I put a heavy may on that because every time something dies, something much better comes along, right? Like the biggest example I can give is Ezolith Cheese, right? Will no longer be a thing by the end of this month. However, a Marth double Ezolith and Halloween Mim composition arose, and it cleared in 55 seconds. Yeah. And the fastest Ezolith comp, right, the two Ezolith, Halloween Lowen and Emma comp that I saw was doing like sub 2 minutes, right? So that's just crazy to see. I mean, you just can't kill Marth.
Yeah. Last
Marth's
boost is too good, yeah.
So, yeah, that being said, there's not too much we can talk about here for co-abilities. HP on revival, it's garbage. You don't want to revive. You never
might be the worst co-ability in the game, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean,
by like a good margin.
Oh my gosh, you never ever want an ability in the game that is designed around you failing or losing. Yeah. So this revival coab,
garbage.
Unless there's some mechanic where later on in the future, right, an ally can bring you back to life, right?
Or maybe like some character that has a kid, like, oh, if you die, you get like a 50% permanent strength buff or something like that. That's just useless.
Yeah, upon revival or something.
Yeah, unless we have something like that, that ability is just it's just so bad.
Right.
So bad.
And as we kind of mentioned before, the big thing about that is if they didn't tie extra materials to revival bonuses, then this could be, something of thought, right? But the fact that you get free extra materials for doing better in a run, it makes this just off the question, right? I mean, it effectively reduces the overall effectiveness. Said effective too many times. It reduces, the quality of your run because you get way less material. In some cases, it could be 2 or 3 less gold pieces. So
the only character that had something like this that I thought was interesting was Hello Melsa. But it was less because it was like, oh, that's a good ability, and more like, oh, that makes sense because she's a zombie.
Right.
But like
right.
in this case,
thematic.
it's just not useful at all.
Yeah. Well, hers too. I mean, it was like 80. You would start with like 80% HP or something that. Which okay, but still, like, you never want your team to fall. By any means. Which kind of brings us to her chain co-ability, right? Which is the combo equals crit rate. This one's just really weird. It's really interesting, and if I had it, I would really love to play with it. Just for the fact that they count each crit rate buff as a individual buff up to 20 stacks.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it's 1%. So the thing is like, yeah, okay, you got to get 200 combo to get only 20% crit, which is like, okay. And then if your combo falls off, right, your combo counter falls off, you lose all of the buffs, right? But think about it. That's 20 buffs in one chain coab, right? And that could go a long way with Xander share and Karina share, which is currently running rampant. So
yeah, it's just that it would take a while to build the combo. By this point, like, maybe some other things would be just better. I feel like Gala, I don't know, man. Gala Ellie is, personally, I was so disappointed in Kimono Ellie.
Yeah. It depends. It's really weird because if you do Volk, right, and you do him with over damage in your build, like over damage, you can get like 100 hit combo like before he does the nothing personal kit attack. So the only reason I bring that up here and now is more so because the sim seems to be favoring over damage in its calculations at the moment, and there will be a lot of people that go into public rooms just copying what the sim shows, right? So if they're copying what the sim shows and the standard sim shows over damage as a share skill, there's a chance that more people will start picking up that share skill, which in turn, right, doubles your combo. So every hit you do is an extra hit for over damage. So it's food for thought, if anything. I don't think it's anything groundbreaking, but it's something fun to consider.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the rest of her kit, there is really nothing special here. She gets an extra little bonus on her ability for skill gauge fill rate. And if she has the level 3 New Year's Prayer from her skill 1, she gets 10% skill gauge fill rate, as well as a 3% fill to her first skill every second, which is nice, right? It's okay. She's probably going to have it at the beginning of the fight because of her skill prep. And, every second from there on out, she'll get an extra 3% to refill the gauge. Realistically speaking, it'll probably take her about 10 seconds to fill this up, which means in that 10 seconds, she'll have filled 30% of the gauge, which would make her effective SP cost closer to 6,000. So, something of note. I mean, look, I'll take a free 10% skill fill on lances because they do have good SP generation.
Yeah, it's the second best, second only to staff.
Yes, staff is incredible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in that regard, at least for SP generation. But yeah, and then she's sleep res, which is, it's okay. Sleep res is okay.
We need more stun res though.
Yeah, I think it's kind of choice based on what your roster looks like, because Although I agree, right, Halloween Lowen being the in-slot healer
Yeah,
forces the
Halloween
need for
Low
more stun
and
res.
like Emma being the buff bot and
Ezlith being like a premier
Ezlith, yeah.
DPS.
So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I think same A too. Isn't he a sleep res? I think.
Seimei is stun.
Is his stun? Okay, then I don't know what I'm talking about, but
I believe he is. I can
yeah,
just
his
double
stun
check in
res.
a moment. Yeah.
But yeah, it's ironic though because I remember when Volk just came out, um, a lot of people were complaining like, oh, the sleep res units are not good enough for like, aside from
Right.
Lowen and Azalith, the
Mm-hmm.
the the other sleep res units are not as good as the stun res. And like
Right.
a
Right.
big problem was getting enough sleep res characters in the room to
Mm-hmm.
pop the green orbs, and now we are kind of having the opposite problem. Not
Yeah.
as much as before, but a bit, and it's kind of ironic.
Right, right. The only other saving grace is by taking your support units and giving them the ones that have sleep res, stun res through
Worm
the
prints.
yes, through the worm prints, because
Yeah.
the stun res affinity is rose prints, which automatically gives you the affliction guard anyway, which is nice because that will mitigate any afflictions you might accidentally get while you have plague, since plague lowers your resistance. And then the other two copies, there's one in the 5-star slot and one in the 4 and below star slot, is Indelible Summer, right? Which is the water affliction resistance print, or affliction nullification, whatever they deem it as the correct term for. And then there's like a Slayer Strength, like 3-star print. That also has the stun res resistance. So what ends up happening is if you put 2 of them on any of your sleep res units, they also get stun res 100%. So that way they can just run over the stun bombs, if they need to do so. So kind of makes them like a pseudo gala unit in that way with the dual res.
Yeah.
But yeah. That being said, we do have the unit with the mechanics that you were excited for, which is Kimono Luca. So he, again, very interesting. His skill 1 is shareable in this case. It's a 6 cost. The SP cost is absolutely insane. I think does it outclass Peony as the highest SP cost, or does she still have the highest SP cost?
I don't know.
I will have to check. I actually have it right here, so I'm gonna load up the page and double check it. Peony, yes, he does. So Peony has a share skill that costs 18,000 SP, and that originally was the highest costing skill. Just the amount of utility it gave: attack rate increase, strength increase, paralysis infliction. Does it paralyze? No, it does not paralyze. It has paralysis Punisher.
Yeah.
But it does not have paralysis. It does also do damage though. In the case of Kimono Luca, it is 19,400 SP, which that's insane. I mean, this is a skill that if you're really considering using on another character, the only context I can see it is kind of what we discussed a little bit beforehand, Lerart, was in time attack because of the mods on this skill.
Yeah, with skill prep.
Right. Or the other realistic choice would be on a staff DPS.
Maybe, yeah.
Because staff units can mitigate these higher SP costs just by the sheer force of how much SP they can charge.
Yeah, it's still gonna be like take a while, but not as much as other characters.
Right. This 19,000 SP cost, for perspective, is equivalent to like a Padia share on maybe a sword user. in terms of how much time it would take to charge. So like a 13k cost share, that's about how much time it would take. So give or take, I would say 15 20 seconds maybe, if without any kind of skill haste, just normal C5s. It deals 3 to 9 hits of 522% wind damage to surrounding enemies, and it dispels 1 buff from each of them, which, nice utility there. And of course, you can continue to tap the screen to deal additional blows up to 6. So that's where you're getting your 3 to 9 hits from, right? You can do 3 if you just hit it for the 3 times, but if you tap 6 extra times, you'll hit 9 times, which inevitably becomes 4,700%, which is insane. That's a huge hit for just raw mods here on the skill. So for him as a character, that's nuts. I mean, it's for him to use it, it's a 2380 SP cost, right? So that's pretty doable for axes. You can see that skill come up pretty often, I would imagine. Yeah. So that looks good for him, as a DPS unit, even though they've somehow classified him as a support.
Yeah, I think they classified him as a support because of his second skill, which is right. But I don't know.
Yeah, because you can see here, right? His second skill is the same style as Kimono Elisanne with this tapping effect, except in this case, no tapping effect, but a leveling system that is granted by the number of Mochi Master stacks, aka the stacks he gets based on how many hits he deals to the enemy. So every 9 hits that he deals via his skill 1, which is a fully stacked skill 1, or in combination his Force Strike, will give him 1 stack, right? And then up to the final stack that he gets for his stack 3, he gets a 60-second buff again for the team. But this one heals 21% recovery potency every 2.9 seconds and reduces water damage taken by 15%, which again to me screams auto compositions. Although the healing is kind of interesting. Like, I don't think that's enough healing to forego a staff or a healing unit entirely.
No, definitely not. But it helps, right? Especially because of the water resistance.
Right. Now, what's really weird about these HP healing is when you get gradual recovery for HP, the potency percentage stacks, but the ticks don't space out. So there's this weird interaction where, let's say you're getting healing from healing double buff, right? Like Odd Sparrows, and then you're getting healing from, let's say, Templar Hope, and then let's say you get healing from this healing skill. That 2.9 second tick is consistent, but the amount of healing you get will be dependent by all of the incoming sources.
Yeah, that's weird.
So what's weird about it is you'd think that they would be applied, like their timer for healing would be applied based on when the buff was received, but it actually only increases the recovery potency of the gradual HP recovery, right? In that window. So assuming 2.9 seconds is enough, right, of a window for you to heal, any additional damage, possibly like bolts from above, which happens very quickly, could still be enough to deplete all of your HP and KO a character. I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe the reduction of the water damage is enough, because 15% is pretty good. You can pair that with you can pair that with those 4-star water resistance prints to get 25% water resistance on your whole team. Which
and I might be wrong, but I think like like elemental resistance is better than like a raw defense buff.
It is, right?
Yeah,
because
right.
What happens is that reduction is applied to how much damage you would take.
Right, right.
And then it immediately cuts that by X percentage. So
Yeah, instead
if you
of
have 100%, yeah, if you have 100% water resistance, you take
don't take
1
damage.
damage.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you take 1.
Yeah, it's no damage. It's basically not taking damage.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's kind of interesting. Obviously, 25% shaved off then, right, is then whatever the damage is that gets leaked over from your defensive stat. But yeah, I mean, and what makes it even better is his co-abilities aid in this, right? He has the traditional 15% defense coab, and then he has the 10 hits equals water res. So within his own kit, if your whole team has a combo of 10 or higher, and they have the print for water resistance in the 4-star slot, and this buff is active, your whole team could have a 35% water damage reduction, and that's not including any other teammates that may have the above 10 hits for water resistance as well. So, I mean, if the rest of your team had it, because you have 3 other slots, you could be looking at, 65% water resistance, which, I mean, at that point, I guarantee you the recovery potency would be enough. Because that's so much res, but AI units don't really keep combos, so it's hard. I'm hard pressed to see that being active a whole bunch. But it's there. It's food for thought for the future, right? I mean, you can probably keep combo at least in Mercurial Gauntlet if we ever see another another set of Mercurial Gauntlet levels.
Yeah.
That's there. Now, something that counts against Kimono Luca is that he is freeze res. So Bog does increase damage to him. Yeah, which means that your 4-star print slots for him are probably going to be Bog res, right? If you're using him in an auto composition. Unless you have a Grace, right? Because Grace would be the only other way to mitigate that. It's just a shame though that these buffs for the resistance, right, the recovery potency and the water resistance damage is only wind units. So it makes me believe and think that Cygames is looking to kind of remove the amount of strength that Grace has and agency that she has in auto compositions, right, and solo play, because both of these skills are element locked, right? So, and as buffs should be, in my opinion, right? They should be more specific to the content that they're working with. Universal buffs can kind of run rampant. You see how double buffing has kind of gotten a little crazy. To be honest, if Templar Hope and Padia were locked to their own elements, then we probably wouldn't be seeing such crazy double buffing, right? That kind of play wouldn't be leaking into Karina.
Yeah. And I feel like Grace would fall off a bit in off element.
Right. Yeah, like her life shield realistically could just be for only shadow units.
Yeah.
Right. Because then she'd still have a very healthy spot in Master Kai, and now we'll see here at the end of the month Legend Kai.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be where people are like, oh my gosh, I have to buy Grace from the Dream Summon, or I have to get lucky if I want to run auto comps. I know that's not how it is, because there are a lot of auto comps you can run without her. It's just for the amount
she makes it so easy.
Yeah, man, like, you spend 3 Champions Testaments and 7,500 Eldwater, right? Or 75k Eldwater, and you have 1 unit out of 4 for every auto comp that you could ask for, because any auto comp you do, you can fit Grace into, right?
Yeah, Grace is so good.
So yeah. Now, just to round out his kit, right, he has that unique 4-strike we were talking about at the beginning. The strength reduction, I like seeing that. That's a nice addition. It's 8% at the max, right? If he hits 4 times, as well as getting the Mochi Master stack, he can get that up to 3 times. So yeah, and then 4 strike attack rate, permanent increase of 20%, which I'll take it.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. And then you can see his level 2 4 strike does 366% damage in his area, and also gives him almost 500 SP per hit, which I'll take, man. That's really good, actually. Because if he hits, so if it's 480, right? And then his SP cost for his S1 is 2380. That is roughly 5 hits.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 5
It's a
hits.
bit less, in fact. It's like
So
9. No, it's 5.
Wait.
Yeah.
Which is nice, right? Because you know,
You could do like
you'll get the 5 hits
C1 and 9, but there's no reason to do that. So
yeah. I mean, you can make it happen, right? You could get the 9 hits and then finish with the Splendid Spring for another 9 hits there. There's a lot of synergy you have with it, and with really good mods like that, if you were lucky enough to get Hunter Cerise, you could easily use her buff to double the power of this 4 strike. So it would be like what, 7? No, yeah, it's like 712 or 722 percent mods. So
yeah, maybe you could do one of those like weird comps with that I've seen on Mercurial Gauntlet with Lapis,
right,
which is
right.
like Patia, Grace, and Templar Hope.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
like only 4 strike focus, and then like you charge your Hunter Cerise shared, and then you just hold 4 strike for the rest of the match. Like, it's not realistic, but it's funny, and maybe you could do that with Gala Luca or Kimono Luca.
Yeah, that would be fun and definitely cool to try out. So for those listening, if you do have him and you do have Hunter Cerise, let us know how that's working. Let us know, how you're playing with that and whatnot. Though the last thing I do have to chat with that we have is Yuji Okada's feedback that he did, and this was on December 27th. He responded to feedback left in the game between the periods of November 1st and November 30th. So a couple interesting things that was picked out here. Okada announces that he is planning to increase Halidom's buildable area in a future update. So maybe there's an Eldwater fountain coming our way. I've been asking for that one for a while. We'll have to see what transpires. The other thing that was mentioned was reduction of stamina costs. Lerart, I know you mentioned that your stamina is often capped and you'd wish for that not to be the case.
Yeah. But yeah, I said that more as a joke, but like
Right.
I've been playing DL every day to get my dailies, but I often see like my stamina and gatherings overcapping, and I've farmed almost every. Now I have more things to farm per se, like the dojos and the facilities and more weapon bonuses and stuff. But like the essential part, I have everything I need. So
Nice.
like I'm not really playing a lot, and
Right.
I really often see my stamina overcapping, and I'm like, I have nothing to spend this on, so I'm gonna do something else.
Yeah,
And
I feel you there.
So like this obviously I could just play like the same amount and let it stack more, overcap more. But this is a nice change for newer players.
Absolutely, yeah. As we talked about, it'll allow the efficiency of said stamina that they get from levels 1 to, I think it's like 60, is
Yeah.
basically unlimited amounts of stamina. So less costing quests would mean they would get more rewards, more items to start their accounts. So definitely good for newer players. The one that I really want to see, and I'm sure you're in the same boat with me, is a new use or some kind of any use for steel bricks. So
Please, yeah.
So basically, Okada mentioned that there's been quite a few players that have commented they have no use for their steel bricks, and they're considering ways to resolve this. So hopefully, we have some ways, to exchange that for something useful. Maybe for Damascus ingots or crystals, or even just rupees, man. Like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And the final thing that they mentioned was a change to how retrying a quest would work. So, this one would be super nice for co-op, but, it's not very intuitive in the way in which you would go about going back to the preparation screen without leaving the lobby. Right? Everyone has to die in the quest, and then someone has to ask to retry, and then someone from there has to say no.
Yeah.
And all of those things have to align just to go back to the preparation screen.
It almost feels like a cheat code. Like it's
It's
not implicit at all that you should do that. It's
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like someone had to tell me, "Hey, we can just do this and it'll work." And I was like, "For real?"
Yeah, I think
was
it
like-
was me maybe because I've said this to a lot of people.
Okay, yeah. Because
Yeah.
I was like, "Bro, really?" And it was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah." And, and I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, let's try it, right?" And then it worked, and I was like, "Hey, yo, like this is sweet." So,
Bro.
yeah, yeah, bro. Like, you got the cheat codes? So, yeah. I mean, that definitely would be a nice addition. So, yeah, we'll have to see. What they do. If anything, these updates would be something that we would see towards the end of the month. So probably sometime next week or so, right before the Persona 5 Strikers collab releases. So, yeah.
Yeah, there are like two changes, not one change and one thing that I would like to see. Like the change I would like to see the most, like besides because those are nice changes, right?
Yeah.
But the one from like facility events, you know how like it's the only type of event that you cannot stack EX fights.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like in raids you can stack the crystals, and
Yeah.
on like the Colosseum or whatever you can like stack the tomes, or I don't know what those are.
Yeah, the scrolls or whatever.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But in you cannot do that on
The facilities.
the facilities. It's so annoying.
Right.
It's so you have to be like go one by one. It's so annoying. And the other thing, it's just weird how they stopped doing 4-star characters.
Yeah, that is a
Like,
good point. That is a good point.
The last one we've seen, wasn't it like Gold?
I think the last one
Or
was
Templar.
Xiaojing.
Xiaojing, yeah, and it's been a while,
Yeah.
man.
And they
would
went all
just-
out. They put him on a gala on
Yeah.
Raid Up.
Yeah, but it's been a while since we had a 4-star. Yeah.
Yeah,
I wish like he would say something about those two things.
Yeah, man. No, for perspective on that, my channel basically started when Xiaojing came out.
Yeah.
So,
I remember
it's
that,
been like 8
because-
months.
Yeah,
so,
that's
or
when
6
I-
months.
That was that was the last script I wrote in fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's pretty crazy. That it's been so long for a 4-star. And, okay, if they're only going to release 5s and that's part of them increasing Champions Testaments, then I guess I understand. But we did have some pretty cool and unique 4-star kits come out. So, you know, and they
Some of
are
my favorites are 4 stars.
right. And the trade-off is, yeah, they might not cost as many Champions Testaments, but they do cost more Eldwater.
Yeah, not
Which,
only that, but I feel like a lot of people don't
Mhm.
summon because they're like, oh, it's so hard to get a 5-star, which is true. It's really hard to get the 5-star you want, even if they're unfocused.
Right.
But a
Right.
4-star, like it's not unrealistic to get the 4-star you want if they're
Yeah.
unfocused.
Just
I
in your
feel like
first 10 roll.
yeah, a lot of people would summon more if they released more 4-stars. I personally have summoned for exclusively for 4-stars on unlimited banners just to complete my collection, or because the 4-star like looked good.
Mhm.
So I do miss 4-stars on banners a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, we'll have to see what they do, or if they mention that. I think the December feedback is where they also talk about the Wormite cuts,
True. Yeah.
as well as probably 4-star feedback too, right? About where they went, or are we going to get more? So if anything, that Okada answer Q&A will come out in about 11 days.
Yeah.
So
Hopefully.
from recording, right? So on the 27th or so, probably around the same time that Legend Cayenne comes out.
Mhm.
So yeah, but that about does it for all the time that we have today here on the podcast. So Lerart, I would like to thank you for coming on and chatting with me.
Yeah.
For those listening, of course, you must follow Lerart on Twitter. Right?
Yeah.
We need to grow his Twitter account and his following, so please do so. As well as anything else that you'd like to tell the audience.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, follow me on Twitter. I tweet a lot. And yeah.
Any games
Thanks
that you'd
for
like to recommend them to play?
Yeah. Dude, I'm just playing Under Night. It's like fighting games. Like it's probably my favorite genre of games. And Uni is just, it's so polished. It's so good.
Yeah,
And yeah, I've been playing a lot of. I'm hyped for. I mean, I was hyped for KOF 15, but the trailers are. Yeah, I just. If you like fighting games as much as I do, or maybe you're interested in, like, just follow me on Twitter. Maybe you could. Man, I don't know. My DMs are open. I don't know. We could just chat. And yeah, follow me on Twitter. Thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here again. And yeah.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I appreciate it. You guys heard it here. If you have any questions or any interest in new fighting games, or you want to hear Lerart's thoughts, be sure again to follow him on Twitter. He is your guy for all things fighting games. And again, Lerart, thanks for coming on. For those listening as well, thank you guys. If you've made it to the end, be sure to drop a like on the video. Let us know what other games you're playing, and if you're a fighting game fan as well. And be sure to subscribe if you're over on YouTube. We are almost at the 1,000 sub milestone. We're so close. So again, guys, thank you so much for listening. And
join the Discord channel.
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. And yeah, of course, if you've made it this far, that means you're really enjoying it. So be sure to join the Discord. That way you'll see any new episodes go live. Most likely the season 2 cycle will be going live around Saturday or Sunday evening. Will be how they will be released. And then you guys will be able to see them as soon as they appear here on Spotify or YouTube, whichever medium you are listening to. So again, thanks for reminding me on that one, Lerart, and we will see you guys next time.